The Ferrari mechanics at Sebring were laughing. Then they went dead silent. A little 1957 Corvette had just posted a lap time faster than every car they owned. For a few minutes on that Florida track, American racing history almost got rewritten. Then the Chevy broke. Then it disappeared for 10 years. And this year, somebody paid $7.7 million to own the proof. Jay Leno knows exactly why. This Chevy beat Ferrari in 1957. 2 million versus 100. That's the size gap between Chevrolet and Ferrari in 1957. Chevy pumped out around 2 million cars a year for American families. Ferrari built maybe 100 per year in a little workshop in Italy. So the bigger company should crush the smaller one, right? Wrong. In racing, it was the exact opposite every time. Ferrari poured every dollar into racing. Chevy poured every dollar into cup holders and bench seats. Enzo Ferrari ran his workshop in Maranello, Italy. Those 100 hand-built cars a year were rolling weapons. He won Le Mans. He won the Mille Miglia. He won almost every big race in Europe during the 1950s. If you had serious money and wanted to be taken seriously, you drove a Ferrari. Now flip the coin. In 1957, a Chevy was the car parked outside a church on Sunday morning, or holding a lawnmower in the back bed. Nothing about it said racing. Nothing about it said speed. It said, Dad needs to get home in time for dinner. So when somebody inside Chevrolet said, Hey, let's go race Ferrari in Florida, the whole boardroom figured it was a joke. They did it anyway. They shipped a small secret race car called the Corvette SS down to Sebring. 12 straight hours of racing on a cracked airport runway waiting for them. Ferrari, Maserati, and Jaguar were already there, ready to laugh. Nobody thought this Chevy would last an hour. None of this would have ever happened without one furious immigrant holding a pen. He wrote GM an insulting letter. In January of 1953, a man walked into a New York car show, looked at the brand new Corvette spinning on a display stand, and got so angry he went home and mailed the bosses of Chevrolet a letter, calling their pride and joy a joke. The twist: instead of trashing his letter, Chevy hired him the same week. His name was Zora Arkus-Duntov. Born in Russia, raised in Belgium, educated in Germany. The guy moved around a lot. Skip all the geography though. The main thing you need to know is he loved racing more than anything else in life. He raced at Le Mans 4 times. He won his class twice, in 1954 and 1955. Le Mans was the hardest race on earth. Most guys died without ever getting one shot at it. Zora did it 4 times. Jump back to that 1953 car show. Zora walks in. He spots the brand new Corvette on its display stand. Gorgeous fiberglass body, curves everywhere. He loves the shape instantly. Then he pops the hood, and his whole face drops. Why? Because the motor inside that beautiful car was a sad old 6-cylinder taxi engine, plus an automatic gearbox, plus a cheap rear axle. A pretty body stuck with a boring heart. Zora was done with it. So he grabbed a pen and wrote directly to Ed Cole, the chief engineer of Chevrolet. In that letter, Zora basically said, Your new Corvette is embarrassing. I'm the only person alive who can fix this mess. Hire me right now. Cole read it. He picked up the phone. And on May 1, 1953, Zora had a brand new job. What Zora built next was a monster nobody could stop. Only 1,850 pounds and 300 horsepower. 1,850 pounds. That's what the finished race car weighed. Same as a modern Honda Civic. Same as a tiny commuter car with nothing in the trunk. Zora built this one to embarrass Ferrari, and the weight was only step 1. Check the rest of the spec sheet. Over 300 horsepower in the engine. In 1957. 4-wheel disc brakes when almost every American car still had drums. 0 parts shared with any Corvette at a Chevy dealer. Start with the frame. Zora used chrome moly tubes. Same light metal airplane builders used. Way more expensive than steel. Then the body on top was made out of magnesium. Magnesium so light, a body built from it weighs almost nothing. But here's a catch that's about to matter a lot. Magnesium holds heat like a cast iron skillet. Park that car in Florida sunlight for a few laps, and the cockpit turns into an oven. The engine was the same story. A 283 cubic inch V8 with mechanical fuel injection. Almost no car on Earth had that in 1957. Over 300 horses out the back. Your dad's brand new 1957 Ford made about 130. So this Chevy was more than twice as strong as the fastest cars at any dealership. Total built? Only 2. 1 for the real race, 1 spare for testing. Zora wanted the best drivers alive. He called Juan Manuel Fangio, a 5-time world champion. Fangio said yes, then chickened out. He called Carroll Shelby, the guy who later built the Cobra. Shelby also bailed. 2 pros named John Fitch and Piero Taruffi grabbed the seats. The race was only days away. The lap that shocked every Ferrari. March 23, 1957, about an hour before qualifying at Sebring. The Florida sun's already baking the old airport runway. The Italian mechanics are eating their sandwiches right next to the Ferrari 335S, joking around, totally relaxed. They're about to stop laughing fast. Check out who they were up against. Ferrari had the 335S with a huge 4-liter V12. Maserati had the 450S with Sterling Moss behind the wheel. At that moment, Moss was the best race car driver alive. Jaguar brought the D-types, fresh off a Le Mans win. And in the corner sat the odd blue American thing, with Zora pacing around, yelling at his mechanics in 3 languages. The Ferrari guys glanced over and grinned. They figured the Chevy would last maybe an hour. Qualifying started. The Corvette SS went out. The whole pit lane went dead silent. Why? Because the lap time that came back was faster than Ferrari's, faster than Maseratis. Remember, Fangio had backed out a few weeks earlier. Staring at that sheet, he'd just seen the biggest career mistake of his life in black and white. Green flag dropped, John Fitch launched, and for a string of laps, he was right there with the Ferraris. Not chasing them, fighting them. Fans started screaming for an American upset nobody expected. Then the wheels came off. A sloppy mechanic had put the rear bushings in wrong the night before. They cracked. The car started bouncing like a shopping cart. The magnesium body trapped so much heat that the cockpit hit nearly 130 degrees, and Fitch started cooking. After 23 laps, he limped in. Done. What killed the car for good came 70 days later, inside a meeting room nobody heard about. 1 vote killed the Ferrari killer. June 1, 1957. Mark that date. On that day, a group of executives in suits killed the best race car America had ever built, and most people still have no clue what happened. Rewind a few weeks. Zora was in his Detroit office drawing up his plan for 1958. 3 cars instead of 1. Budget approved. Drivers lined up. And this time he was going after Le Mans. This was supposed to launch Chevrolet as a world-class racing power. Then the call came. A private club called the Automobile Manufacturers Association had held a secret meeting. Think of it like a group chat for every big American car boss. These guys were scared stiff. They'd watched a horrible 1955 Le Mans disaster, where a flying race car tore into the crowd and killed 83 spectators in seconds. They were also getting quiet pressure from the U.S. government saying racing was making American roads feel dangerous. So the bosses took a vote. 1 short, unanimous vote. And like that, every American car company was banned from factory racing starting June 1, 1957. Ford gone. Pontiac gone. Chevy gone. The entire American racing scene deleted in 1 afternoon. Zora came unglued when he heard. He stormed into offices. He screamed at bosses way above his pay grade. He tried smuggling engine parts to private race teams so his design could keep running under the table. Every single door slammed shut in his face. The Ferrari killer was dead. Not because Ferrari was faster, not because a car broke, because a room full of scared executives signed a piece of paper. And what Chevrolet did with the car after that is the most bizarre part of this whole story. GM hid it for 10 years. Nobody buries a race car inside their own company. That's not how car companies work. When a racing program gets canceled, the cars get sold, donated to a museum, or chopped for spare parts. Every time. Every company. Basic stuff. Chevrolet broke that unwritten rule. Right after the ban, the Corvette SS got rolled into storage at the GM Tech Center in Warren, Michigan. They threw a dust cover over it, clicked off the lights, and locked the door behind them. For nearly 10 years, the car became a secret nobody could mention out loud. Most of the big bosses at GM had no clue it existed. The engineers were told to shut up and pretend it never happened. Wait till you hear this next part. Remember, there were two SS cars. The spare chassis, the testing mule, got bought by Bill Mitchell, GM's top designer, for pocket change. The accountants had written it off as worthless junk, so Mitchell drove home with a free race car. Then Mitchell pulled off something legendary. He took that chassis home, redesigned the body from scratch, painted it silver, and called it the Stingray Racer. A few years later, that same shape became the blueprint for the 1963 Corvette Stingray, a car tons of people still call the best-looking American sports car ever built. So one of the two SS cars accidentally started a whole line of legends. The other one sat in a dark room collecting dust. By the late 1960s, the money people at GM wanted to scrap the forgotten one. Zora panicked and called his friend John DeLorean, a powerful executive inside GM. DeLorean donated the car in 1967 to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum as a personal favor. One phone call saved it forever. Decades later, someone on late-night TV started telling the story out loud. Jay Leno says it was stolen. Arkus-Duntov, the genius behind Corvette, this is his baby. This is when he really got serious. Jay Leno said those words on camera in January of 2019, pointing straight at his own 1957 Corvette. Why does this matter so much? Because Jay knows something most car fans still don't. You know Jay from late-night TV. In the car world, the guy's a major heavyweight. His garage holds some of the most valuable cars on Earth. One of his favorites is a silver 1957 Corvette C1. It was originally ordered by young U.S. soldiers stuck in Korea who was smart enough to delete the radio, delete the heater, and delete the soft top just to save weight. Only 65 Corvettes came in that silver color for 1957. Jay owns one of them. In that January 2019 episode of Jay Leno's Garage, Jay's standing right next to the silver car, pointing at it like a proud dad, telling millions of fans that 1957 was the year the Corvette became a real race car, and Zora was the reason. Jay knows exactly what happened. You've seen the Ford vs. Ferrari movie, right? Ford finally beats Ferrari at Le Mans in 1966. Big Hollywood story. But that Ford win landed 9 full years after the Corvette SS almost pulled off the same thing, with way less money and fewer people. If that AMA vote had flipped, the famous story today would be Chevy versus Ferrari, not Ford. History got robbed. Want one last piece of proof the car was legit? In 1959, 2 years after the SS was supposed to be dead, Zora rolled it out for the opening of Daytona International Speedway and casually set the fastest lap of the day at 155 miles per hour. 2 years retired. Still the quickest car in the room. And in 2025, all of that proof finally caught up to the rest of the world. Sold for $7.7 million in 2025. The auctioneer's hammer slammed down. The room exploded. A winning bid of $7.7 million just walked out with the Corvette SS. Higher than any production Corvette in history. Higher than plenty of real Ferraris from the same year. Rewind a little. I'll show you how we got there. For almost 60 years, this car sat quietly inside the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum. Visitors walked past it every single day on their way to see the Indy 500 winners. The big red roadsters, the gold trophies, the shiny stuff everybody knows. Meanwhile, the Corvette SS sat in its corner like a forgotten guest at somebody else's party. It got a restoration in 1985 for Chevrolet's 75th anniversary blowout in Monterey, made a few appearances at historic race weekends, then went back into quiet museum life. For nearly 40 more years, almost nobody outside hardcore Corvette circles knew what they were walking past. Serious collectors knew exactly what it was. They waited decades for the day to come. That day was March 4, 2025, at the Kissimmee auction down in Florida. The car rolled onto the block. The room filled up. Bidders leaned forward, and the numbers started climbing the way numbers only climb when something truly one-of-a-kind shows up. When the hammer came down, the final sale was $7.7 million. Remember, the other SS, the one Mitchell turned into the Stingray racer, is considered priceless and will probably never be sold. So in the whole world, there's exactly one 1957 Corvette SS you can actually own, and a collector just paid $7.7 million for the privilege. Run the math. GM raced this car for about 3 hours in 1957. They hid it in a warehouse for 10 years because of one secret meeting. And 68 years later, a collector paid a fortune for the proof that America could have beaten Ferrari first and chose to walk away. If this story flipped the way you see old American cars, drop your take in the comments below. And when you're ready for the next story, tap the video on your screen right now. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.